Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic, and welcome to this weekend Precious Metals review with Andy SCHECTMAN. You can find his work at milesfranklin.com. Let's give him a big warm welcome back to the show. Andy, welcome back.
JC, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. I'm excited to have you. Man, Andy, it's been a crazy day. It looks beautiful where you are. I'm kind of jealous.
It is beautiful down here in Florida. It's absolutely fantastic. So come on down. Yeah, I know that they're opening up the borders in Canada. You're welcome. There's a room with your name on it, my friend.
I'll take you up on that very, very shortly for sure. Hey, folks, if you're just tuning in now, thank you so much for joining us on this live interactive show. We had a crazy morning here today. I did this update video. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's called System Glitch. Essentially, what happened there was that the WooCommerce application we use in the background of our website to process transactions, they updated their server last night with a different patch, and it was a conflict with our system. So a lot of you last night were trying to purchase the last Janine pay-per-view episode, and you couldn't find the page. And so I contacted WooCommerce this morning. They've implemented the fix now. I've tested it. It's working, but I still have about a few hundred emails to respond to all those customers who bought it last night and couldn't access the link. So bear with me. I'm doing that this morning. And I was just saying to Andy before we started the show, I needed that like a colonoscopy this morning. It just feels lately that all I've been doing is fixing shit that somebody else broke. So anyways, these last 2 weeks have been pretty hard on me. So bear with me, folks. At any rate, this was not, of course, of our doing. It's all fixed now. So anybody purchasing our pay-per-views right now, everything's working perfectly fine. So let me go back here. So that's beyondmystic.net/pay-per-view, and all of those episodes are now absolutely working fine. I'm still working on the fix for Patreon, folks. If you're looking for that one, give me a few more days. I'm almost there on that one. And that has to do with censorship. It has nothing to do with system upgrades. So we'll get there very shortly. So thank you so much, everyone. Okay. First news article, Andy, I wanted to share this video with you and the audience. I saw this earlier this morning posted on Zero Hedge. And this was Mr. B explaining to the class what inflation or the fact that there's no inflation here moving forward, and that his policies are actually going to reduce inflation. So let's listen to what Mr. B has to say. So let me see if I can bring this up for you guys.
I'm pretty confident that inflation is temporary, but if we pumping all of this money into the economy, couldn't that add to?
No, look, here's the deal. Moody's today, when a Wall Street firm, not some liberal think tank, said if we pass the other two things I'm trying to get done, we will in fact reduce inflation, because we're going to be providing good opportunities and jobs for people who in fact are going to be reinvesting that money back in all the things we're talking about, driving down prices, not raising prices. And so it is, I sincerely mean this. Prices are up now. And they're up at, for example, you're in a position where you're trying to build a house, try to find 2x4s and lumber. Well, guess what? People stopped working cutting lumber. They stopped doing it because the unemployment was so down. Now all of a sudden there's this need because people are coming back. And guess what? Instead of paying 10 cents, you're paying 20. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It relates to what, in fact, is now needed because we're growing.
Okay, not sure what that meant anyways, but that just reminded me, Eddie, that's quite funny. We'll dive into that in a second, but it reminded me of another famous liberal politician here in Canada. He was accosted after the legislative session one day with a specific question, and he was a little bit aggravated by it. So let me play that clip, and you guys can tell me if it sounds any way familiar to all of this. All right, so this is, of course, Mr. Jean Chrétien, Liberal Prime Minister from way back when.
I don't know. A proof is a proof. What kind of a proof? It's a proof. A proof is a proof. And when you have a good proof, it's because it's proven. Thank you very
much. So I thought that was absolutely hilarious, Andy. I don't know if you heard that last clip. Did you hear the sound okay? Oh, Andy, I think you're frozen there. I can't see you. And hold on a second. For the audience there, are you guys still hearing us okay? Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me. I think Andy just lost his connection there. So let me just check the chat here very quickly. Hopefully we can salvage this. There was a bit of an echo when I first connected with Andy. We were losing his voice, and now he appears to be frozen on screen. Yeah, Andy is gone here. Okay, I see Andy, 5x5. Yeah, okay, so he's frozen. So hopefully he can come back here. All right, I think I've got it. Hey, bro, the proof is the proof. Okay. Andy, did you miss that?
Yeah, I did. I disappeared. Everything went frozen there for a second, but I mean, I think I get the gist where you're going with all this.
All right, well, let's start there. I was laughing at Jacques Chrétien here, of course, because he was like, the proof is the proof, because it's the proof. It's been proven. Everybody's like, yeah, but where's the proof? He says, oh, the proof is in the pudding. So anyways, that was a famous clip of a politician just simply, not wanting to answer, basically saying, just take my word for it. And this is what Biden is trying to tell us here in this absolutely absurd clip of him explaining how his policies are going to reduce inflation. He's just saying now we're going to put more people to work. We're going to invest in the economy. Well, if more people are going to work and buy more goods, isn't that going to drive prices even higher than they are now, Mr. Biden? Anyways, the the reporter there didn't want to ask that question. So what do you think of all of this, Andy? What's going on?
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there is no, in my opinion, you have some bottlenecks in your transit. But to me, the bottom line is you have a Federal Reserve, Powell, who wants to increase asset prices. And, I was just reading the other day an article written by Alan Greenspan in the Financial Times. It seems maybe he wants to clear his conscience as he's getting excuse me, a little bit older. And he admitted that the Fed is out to lower the value of the dollar. And, their idea involving injecting money into the bond market in an effort to keep asset prices up and keep interest rates low. I mean, you got a former Fed chair admitting this. The logic is that higher asset prices make people feel richer and more inclined to spend money. But I guess, if prosperity and wealth creation were as simple as printing money, Zimbabwe would be the wealthiest nation on earth. The CPI, even at 5.6%, is hogwash. We got money creation running at 25% year over year. The real numbers are double digit. And in fact, recently, John Williams just came out and said that he sees inflation already at 13.5%, a little bit higher than the 5.4% the Bureau of Labor Statistics has reported for June. Look, it's money creation. That's the bottom line. And that's the most basic measure of money creation, as Williams said, is up over 80% from its pre-pandemic level. And I think that if the Fed tries to pull back from that, you're dealing with a situation that's unstable, where everything just implodes. You have asset prices at all-time highs, largely based upon the stimulus, and I think it's all rhetoric.
I think we've lost
telling us that the subprime crisis was contained in 2008, just before it went belly up. But I guess, with all of this in mind, my question is, how much longer can a country which continually is debasing its...
I think we just lost Andy again, folks. Hold on a second here. It appears to be Andy's connection, because mine is like full bar, full rated right now. I do apologize for that. It seems that we're having some issue here with his connection. Yeah, let's see here if we can get him to come back in the studio. Folks, I do apologize for that. Man, very frustrating. Like I said, it's been a frustrating day here. Let me give you another update while we wait for Andy here. I've been tracking this very closely here for the last little while, and this was Cliff's prediction here that sometime between the 23rd and possibly all the way to the 28th, we would see something absolutely incredible in terms of emotional spike and release of tension here in USA pop, I believe, but it could be worldwide as well. I'm not sure how much how big of the scope that was when he first wrote this tweet. At any rate, he's coming on the show. We're going to do a pay-per-view episode this Saturday to get into all of these details with him. Now, I say pay-per-view because I'm going to put it on my pay-per-view private server so that we don't have any issues with censorship. That said, I will give everyone a 100% discount code, so the episode will be free for everyone to watch. I'm just going to put it up there as opposed to doing it here live on YouTube and have maybe any issues with that. So Cliff and I will be recording, I believe it's at noon Eastern on Saturday. And so that means that the episode, the pay-per-view episode, will be available for you guys a couple of hours later on the library at beyondmystic.net/pay-per-view. That said, I will make a quick YouTube video update to let you know as soon as that file is available so you guys can go and check that out. Okay, I think I've got Andy back here. Let me see if I can pull him back on the screen. Andy?
I just
Andy.
I switched where I was sitting. I think you weren't getting what I think.
Andy, I think you're frozen again. We just lost your connection again. You're frozen on the screen here. Man, guys, it's just one of those days. Can you imagine? Oh, what's happening with our friend Andy? Oh, there you go. Guys, I might call it for today here. Again, I have so much work to do in the background. I still need to respond to a few people who were trying to get to that episode and couldn't get the process. How do you call it? The order confirmation form, pointing them to the correct file. I'm about 80% done responding to everyone now, so we're almost there. And I can see now running in the live commerce application site that all of these transactions are now going through and people are watching the episodes live. So I know for sure the problem is fixed there on the pay-per-view. And like I said, I have a few more emails to respond to you guys. So hold on, I will get to you. And on that note, guys, if you sent me an email directly or to the sales confirmation form, that might delay the process because I don't see those. There's over 1,000 emails in that account. So really the best thing to do, if you bought this a pay-per-view yesterday or sometime between the night, go to the contact us form here on our website, fill that one out. Let me know your payment, your PayPal ID and the episode you purchased and the error you were getting. That will make it a lot easier for me to respond to you guys and put everything back on par for the audience here. Okay, I think I have Andy back. We'll try this one last time. Andy, let me see if I can bring you back on. Andy, do I have you?
I'm so sorry, JC. I don't know what's going on with my internet today. There's a storm not too far away. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but anyways, look, just the bottom line is that I truly believe that the talk of inflation being in check in a transitory situation is crap. I don't think that's the case at all. In fact, quite to the contrary. I think really what you see happening more than anything is that you have a Fed chairman that wants to increase asset prices, period. You know, and I was talking about Alan Greenspan, who wrote recently in the Financial Times that he believes the Fed is out to lower the value of the dollar, and it involves injecting money into the bond market in an effort to get asset prices up and keep interest rates low. That's what we've been talking about for a long time. It's the wealth effect. Inflation isn't in check, and it isn't transitory. And, you know, our buddy John Williams just was on Kitco saying it's at 13%. 13.5%, much higher than the 5.4% that the Bureau of Labor Statistics is reporting. And, you know, they cite, well, the bond market doesn't see inflation, but ask yourself, if John is right at 13.5%, and, you know, the reason they say the bond market doesn't see it is because interest rates are trending lower. Over the last month and a half, we see a 60 basis point decrease in interest rates. That's an enormous amount. That would signal that the bond market doesn't believe inflation is real, that maybe it is transitory. It's a bunch of crap. M1 is up over 80% since the pre-pandemic level, which is, you know, at this point, the easiest way to see how much cash is in the system since they've already gotten rid of M2 and M3, which used to be broader and the broadest measure of the money supply. But really, to me, you know, this is nowhere near transitory. It sounds like Bernanke telling us that the subprime housing problem is in check in 2008. you have a situation where they cannot stop the engine of money creation. And if they do, everything implodes. It's a balloon with a small hole popped in it. And if you don't continue to blow air into it, it just deflates. And so these guys have nothing to do but continue to jawbone. And look, if asset prices are making people feel rich and more inclined to spend money, I believe that to be true. But if creating prosperity and wealth were as simple as just printing it, then Zimbabwe would have been the wealthiest nation on earth many years ago. I don't think that inflation is transitory, and nor do I think that we're really anywhere near out of the woods with it. I see it getting much worse. In fact, I just read an article also in Zero Hedge today about a gentleman. He's one of the biggest wholesalers in the grocery business. Last name is Cascamidius or something along those lines. And basically, he said that rising costs should mean another 10 to 14% increase in grocery prices by October. You're talking a CPI, which conveniently excludes food and energy from its measurements. And yet here you have one of the biggest wholesalers for grocery store chains in the world telling us that grocery prices and food prices will be up between 10 and 14%. Because they have to pass that on to the consumer. So, I think that I think we aren't out of the woods even close yet. And I truly do believe that what you have happening right now is a greater attempt by the Fed to keep asset prices high, ignoring the inflationary effects, kicking the can further down the road as long as they can.
Right, absolutely. Let me bring up 2 comments here again. While you were off, Andy, I was doing some housekeeping notes here, but Becky is asking, JC, where can I find the uncensored videos for the members? That is a censorship issue over at Patreon, and I'm working on that fix. So Becky, if you want more details on that, I did produce 2 videos. Let me bring that up for you guys so that you understand exactly what we're dealing with and what the timeline is for that fix. So you're looking for this one here, Between the Lines update. And silver unboxing. Actually, I was a big thank you to Andy Schechtman and Chris Marcus for the silver those guys had sent me. So let me bring that link down below so you guys can go and watch that and understand what's happening with the Patreon. Bear with me, folks, very close to fixing that one as well. Now, Mikola says, JC, it might not be you or Andy. I've been hearing that. Right. I saw that earlier too. Here, pick this up, Andy. There seems to be some weird things happening with the internet here, web outages all over the place. So if you look at the map here, there's quite a bit in your neck of the woods as well. So that could be why we're having these issues here today, at least on the connection side of things. So thank you, Mikola, for that. And finally, let me bring this one up too. This is what Andy was just talking about now. So if you haven't read this, let me just bring this link back down to the chat for you guys. This is John Williams' Kitco interview, explaining that the inflation was already at 13 or 13.5% now as compared to what is being admitted to by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, Andy, having said all of this, we're still here looking at very low and suppressed prices of silver. At what point does this huge gap or gulf between reality the silver shortage that the U.S. Mint has admitted to a month and a half ago, and all of this hyperinflation, at what point do they actually connect and start reflecting actual prices? How far are we from this? What's your gut feeling? What's your dealer telling you and your sources telling you?
Look, I think we're a lot closer to it than people think. If we look at the last few days of the June delivery contract, first let's put things in perspective. Last year, the COMEX delivered almost 300 million ounces of silver. That's a decade's worth of deliveries. This year, through half the year, we've already delivered over 200 million ounces. And if we look at the end of the June contract, which June 28th or 7th or 8th, just 3 days before the June contract went off the board and deliveries would then be allowed July 1st, we had 220 million ounces of open interest against 110 million ounces in registered category. What that basically means is those 220 million ounces of open interest meant that they could stand for delivery in 3 days. There were 110 million ounces in silver to be delivered should that happen. So we're closer than we've really ever been. And I guess the bottom line is this: when you see the amount of deliveries off of COMEX, when you see what's happening by the most sophisticated private money in the world taking this money off of the exchanges, I think it is very. We're getting to the end of the game in the respect that when someone refuses to deliver at these make-believe prices is when the game is over. And you know, the big accumulators, the Chinese, the Indians, the Russians, the rest of the world who's accumulating silver, they're not bitching that the West is manipulating the price because it serves their own purpose just fine until it doesn't. And you know, these are questions that I understand why people get frustrated. I do. I mean, it's frustrating for me too. It's very counterintuitive. But here again, they're going to great lengths to keep the ball up in the air. Just like I was saying, who in their right mind buys U.S. Treasuries earning 1.2% when inflation, according to John Williams, is running at 13%? You're guaranteed in that scenario to lose over 12% compounding per year for 10 years. So, in other words, if they're going to such great lengths to blur what's really happening, to blur inflation, they're going to go to great lengths to keep the price of the monetary metals as low as possible. But the thing is this, that used to work well before there was a monetary renaissance. The amount of silver investment is extraordinary, JC. It is nowhere near accurately reflected of the low price. The demand is so far greater than what the price is dictating. And I think we'll wake up one day to a new reality. And I say that to you because of the massive money repositioning ahead of this. And if I didn't see the huge deliveries off of COMEX to the sovereign wealth funds, if I didn't see the massive amount of gold and silver being delivered off of exchange for physical, look, last year, the amount of gold deliveries, as an example, off of COMEX were more than the Bank of India, than the Bank of Japan, more than the official holdings of the Dutch National Bank. You're talking more gold delivered off of COMEX than the central banks own. Many of the central banks own official holdings. You're seeing the same thing in silver. And the biggest money in the world is using these paper prices to accumulate it until there's no one willing to sell it at those prices any longer. And when that happens, and maybe we're getting closer than we think, then we wake up to a new reality. But you can see the lengths to which they're going to really keep the game going. And you know, most of it to me centers around interest rates. And you know, let's not forget there's a term in economics titled Gibson's paradox, which speaks of the inverse relationship between real interest rates and gold. And it's the key indicator for the strength of a currency in this case. So bottom line is simply this: they are doing all they can to keep the game going and to blur the indicators that tell us, hey, the inflation is real, the dollar's in trouble. Instead, they're saying, look, everything's fine, inflation is in check, it's transitory, get back in the water, everything's fine. And you know what? I don't believe it one bit, not one bit at all.
Wow. You just said something here, and I want to bring this back up to the audience and tie this all in. You said one day we're going to wake up to a new reality. Part of the reason we haven't woken up to the reality is all of this obfuscation, all of these mechanisms of signaling that have been broken. And all of that is being held up by confidence in the dollar, or what's remaining in the confidence of the US dollar. But here's something that might shatter that very, very quickly. And I'm going to tread carefully here because this is breaking news. And this is a topic, of course, that people don't like here when it comes to reality. But this is just one here of the instances where perhaps we're seeing that we have a huge democracy issue. I'll just call it that here. And if that's the case, and this continues to snowball because there's other people looking at the same issue here in different jurisdictions, suddenly we might not have, I'm not sure even what to say here, but you understand what I'm saying. We might not have a ruler as we thought we did. So let's just put it that way. What does that do to the confidence in the dollar? And then suddenly the people's willingness to part with their physical silver for US dollars. Are we close just because of this as well, Andy?
Yeah, I think, of course, absolutely. And that's, you know, of course, it's not just Pennsylvania. I mean, it's Arizona too. There seems to be a lot that's being uncovered. You know, one of the things, JC, we've talked about a lot is the subversion or the suppression, rather, of information. And you know, this should be front and center. So should the investigation in Arizona. You never really hear about it. They're doing all they can to keep it. And if I glanced at that article, and I could have sworn it said that they were going to certify that the election was okay, but well, now moving forward, these machines have been decertified. Now, maybe I didn't read that correctly, but the bottom line is simply this: that there's a lot more going on under the behind the scenes, and I really do hope that it comes out. However it turns out, I'd like to at least have faith in our election, but our election process. But all of the information that we are being fed is just ridiculously kept from us. I'll give you an example. I just read today, also on Zero Hedge, that the COVID-19 Origin Act that was introduced in the Senate by Josh Hawley from Missouri and Mike Braun from Indiana was unanimously passed in May. And then when it was brought to the House floor, it was shot down.
Yep.
So you have the Democrats not even wanting to get to the bottom of where the virus came from. If we have that type of flat out subversion of truth, what does it say for everything? I mean, what changed everyone's life in this world more than what happened in the last 15 months, 18 months? And to not get down to the bottom of it is ridiculous. Same thing is true here. Are they feeling that opening a can of worms by telling us that the election may have been rigged or was rigged after their investigation? Is that the unintended consequences greater than the reality? Are they trying to treat us like children? I think that the misinformation, the withholding of information is, to me, it's been the most concerning thing I've seen in the past 18 months, without question, along with the censorship.
Well, let me bring this up here too. I brought this up while you were trying to reconnect earlier, but Cliff High was picking up here for the last little while. A big target on his radar in terms of the linguistic, what's it called? Predictive linguistics. Sorry, my head. I'm full of things today, and it's been a crazy day. But anyways, he's seeing something happening between the 23rd and the 28th. And if you look at the graph, the way he plots this information, it looks very similar to other big events in the history here, including what happened in 2001, in the fall of 2001. And so there's something big on the horizon here. So whether or not that is an actual event, that cracks open maybe human consciousness into this new reality that we're going to wake up into, like you're just saying now, or whether it's a designed event to prevent us from seeing the actual crack in reality, we're not sure yet. But Cliff and I are going to do an episode on this Saturday morning. So there's a lot going on here, Andy. Absolutely. With
JC, most of what I have been talking about, sometimes I get even annoyed at myself that a lot of the things I say, I keep harping upon. But the thing is this: I have seen a progression of events for the past 4 years that tell me exactly, well, not exactly, but fit into that type of a narrative where something big happens and we wake up and it's a whole new reality. When you see the biggest money in the world going to such great lengths to de-dollarize, to accumulate metal, to reclassify it as tier 1, to do so in a very clandestine manner, where information is not given to the public in a truthful, timely manner, it just tells me that they're all positioning ahead of something that's coming. And when people get out there and try to talk about it in a responsible way, they're shut down. They are trying to suppress the truth, and they are preparing for whatever that truth that we're trying to talk about will spotlight. They're trying to get ahead of it because they already know the playbook. I guess I take comfort, JC, in everything that we're talking about, in knowing that the biggest money in the world has gone to enormous lengths to de-dollarize, and you can continually see it. And I think that's really the point here, is that we will wake up to a new reality. And and whether it happens in Cliff's timeline before or after, the truth of it is that there would be no reason to reclassify gold as tier 1. There would be no reason to massively accumulate it the way that they have. There would be no reason to do so many of the things that are being done right now by the biggest money in the world, if not for something big coming down the pike. And
you just said it, Andy. You just said it. It boils down to this: Never mind all the crazy explanations. Never mind the Joe Biden's explaining you what is or what is not inflation. Just look at what the big money is doing. They're taking possession of physical, and they're doing so at a rapid clip like never before. They know something is up. Of course, we're not part of the club. We didn't get the memo, but just looking and projecting their moves right now, we can see what's going on. So
and then you have a media that's giving us a narrative. Just the other day on the cover of the New York Magazine last month, it said socialism isn't a dirty word anymore.
Yeah.
And they talk about how most Gen Z have a negative view of capitalism. And I guess I would simply ask the question, and I'll paraphrase, talking about ironic Lawrence Summers. And for those of you who don't know who Lawrence Summers is, Lawrence Summers was the Treasury Secretary under Clinton, the second Treasury Secretary. First was what was his name? Well, it doesn't even matter. I can't think of it at the moment. But the point of it is that he has been a advisor to every single president since Clinton up through Obama. He also won an award while at Harvard. He wrote a report with a man named Barsky from Michigan State, an economist. And the report was titled Gibson's Paradox Revisited. He won all sorts of rewards for it, all sorts of accolades for it. Well, remember I said Gibson's paradox is the inverse relationship between precious metals and interest rates. So if you're going to suppress interest rates to maintain this illusion of prosperity, you have to kill the canary in the mine shaft. Lawrence Summers knew that. And Lawrence Summers is really the chief architect of so much of the suppression that we've seen. Robert Rubin was the first Treasury Secretary. But anyways, he's the chief architect of so much of this. But, you know, ironically, these guys try to clear their conscience. And he says, well, how much longer can a country which debases its currency, embraces socialism, silences intellectual dissent, brainwashes its youth, and encourages unproductive behavior continue to be the world's most dynamic economy? And is he trying to push us in that direction? Is he trying to clear his conscience? Because, you know, it's so much of the problems that we have which center around interest rate manipulation, I would argue he's largely the author of. And so, you know, I think that the bottom line is that we are entering a period of time where, if I had to guess, we see a massive dollar devaluation, or inflation rather, that it comes about by a massive dollar devaluation. And ultimately it will be when the rest of the world grows tired of accepting our currency as the world reserve currency. And, you know, this illusion of prosperity that we've had in the U.S. has been fostered by our foreign creditors, by their good grace. But I think it's becoming obvious, JC, that these large investors are for some time now been quietly moving out of dollars and treasuries into gold and commodities. And I think that's what's going to be the awakening. We will wake up and the switch will have turned and they will have positioned. Then you don't see the price of silver and gold being held down because no one's going to sell it at those levels. In fact, it will flip-flop, and the big money who reposition will make as much money on the upside as they did on the down. And that tiptoeing out of fiat currencies into gold will turn into an all-out sprint. Right. And then I think the world will realize what a scam accepting dollars as the world reserve currency really is. So this is why they try to blur these lines between inflation and calling it transitory and all of the things that would gauge or give a metric upon the health of this economy. They're trying to keep the game going and the ball up in the air, but the big money knows more, and they're going to great lengths to quietly, without rocking the boat or cutting off their nose to spite their face, reposition. I really do believe that. And that's why, look, you can't be bummed out when the price gets knocked down when you know it's bullshit. In fact, you have to use it as a subsidy, and you have to try to look at it as going into the store and seeing your favorite item on sale. You're happy when you see that. When you're buying gold, you're not. But I think in this case, when you know what the final outcome will be, which I do believe will be a situation where gold and silver are markedly higher, but in that environment, be careful what you wish for. Doesn't mean you shouldn't prepare and own it. It just simply means you need to mitigate your exposure to the dollar right now. Right. And that's what the big money is doing.
Right now. Absolutely. I love that. And somebody was saying here, Chris was talking about Yeah, that topic again. I'll just tread carefully here. This is coming up in the field right now. Let me bring up this tweet too. He's looking at July 24th here as the Great Awakening. You just talked about, awakening here for humanity. So very interesting in the next couple of days. Now, you said something earlier. Socialism is not a dirty word. You were referring to an article. I'll show you what the French think about that. So this was, of course, in response to Monsieur Macron suggesting here 6 months of prison terms for people entering pubs and restaurants without their pass. I'll just say it that way. And so these billboards started to show up. So the French are not having anything of it in relation to this dirty word. So anyways, people are waking up to this en masse. You could see that these politicians are in panic mode right now. We're seeing the effects of that now. At what point does that crack? It appears that we're very, very close to that. And again, I agree with Andy. Whether it's tomorrow, in 2 weeks, in 2 months, or in 2 years, we know where this is going. And if we're following the big money who are taking possession of physical in a rapid clip, maybe take a hint from that. And never mind what they're telling you on the news, telling you that gold is a pet rock and silver's just, a shiny.
Let me just respond real quick to Gypsy Tree here, who respectfully disagrees that price is everything, and opportunity cost has been enormous over the years, getting teeth kicked in by the miners. First of all, miners and physical metal are the opposite end of the financial pyramid. Your physical metal and your paid for real estate, that kind of stuff, cash, that's all on the base of your pyramid. And the top 10% of your pyramid are your mining shares and your cryptocurrencies and your very speculative investments. And when we look at what gold has done since 2000, it's outperformed the S&P by over 250%. So when we talk about opportunity cost, yes, since over the last year, yes, when the Fed has come in and done all they can to stimulate the markets, yeah, it is. There has been an opportunity cost. I don't disagree. But we're looking at it at one very small point in a circle. I think you have to take a broader approach. The money that you put into precious metals should not be the money that you invest with. The money that you put into precious metals is your wealth. The money that you invest with and you want to get a return on, that's different. And I wouldn't tell someone who's looking for a return on their money to go into physical gold and silver. I would tell people who are looking for a return of their money to go into gold and silver. If you want to speculate, there are wonderful ways to do it in this volatile market. Become a trader, and there are ways to do that where you're swing trading. You're in, you're out. You're in, you're out. You're
right
above the 200-day, below the 200-day. You're in, you're out. You look at the trends, but
you can go short, you can go long, you can bet either way. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why when we talk about physical precious metals, it's not to get rich. I've never sold precious metals as an investment. I've been buying it every 2 weeks for 31 years because it's wealth. And I think that's in the end, in a world that's so uncertain, and it makes it a lot easier to not look at the screen and not get so bummed out when the price goes down. Now, mining shares is a different animal. In 2016 January, I put $10,000 into First Majestic at $3.50, and by July, 6 months later, 7 months later, it was $19. It had gone up sixfold. Mining shares can make you very wealthy on the leverage that they give you, but they can kick you in the teeth on the downside too. Right. And so bear that in mind. Again, it's that, yes, there are opportunity costs everywhere. But, I guess we'll have to see when the final chapters are written. I guess I would just simply say money for investing and speculation is different than money put aside for wealth and insurance.
That's a very good answer, and I appreciate the question, Gypsy Tree. And people can disagree with us, and that fosters this conversation. I really appreciate that, and the way that you framed the question also. So thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Glass Effects is saying Jim Stone reports Macron's private house is on fire. Yeah, I saw that yesterday. I posted this on Twitter. So again, this is a pushback on everything. We're seeing it across the board in Greece, in Cuba, in South Africa right now, and it's much worse than it's being reported in the news. If you have friends that are locals there, they'll tell you, it wasn't just a few thousand, it was a lot more people than that protesting here. So yeah, there's a lot happening at the same time. Andy, let me see here. We are 45 minutes in. Okay, so why don't we do this? Let me bring back the video I did yesterday to thank you guys, you and Chris Marcus here for the beautiful silver you guys sent me. Again, thank you so much to both you, Andy and Chris. And of course, folks in the audience, this was in response to my troubles and my censorship problems at Patreon. So these guys were stepping up and helping me out, and I really, really appreciate that. So folks, if you want to get your hands on some physical silver or gold, Andy, what do we have in store for them this week in terms of a special discount for the Beyond Mystic audience? Let me bring that up.
Absolutely. And before I go, I do want to address Susan M's question. But as far as the special, I have kind of a double-edged sword here. On one hand, we're offering the Krugerrand, the silver Krugerrand, at $4.39, or excuse me, $4.69 over the price of silver. And as far as I can tell, that's the best price in the country. And if you're looking to buy 1 ounce coins, yes, you can buy bars, 10 ounce, kilo, 100 ounce, and pay less than that. If you're looking for a 1 ounce coin, as far as I can tell, that's going to be the best price in the country. They're brand new, they're 2021, and a darn good choice. The second thing that we're offering would be for people who own ETFs or own large amounts of metal. Here's your biggest bang for the buck. And as far as I can tell, that is the best price in North America. For your Canadian listeners, we're able to deliver this to Toronto as well and offer 90 days free storage. It brings Toronto, or deliver it right to people's door. So anywhere in North America, $1.69 delivered in any of our Brinks facilities, 90 days free storage. So I will constantly try to bring specials to your listeners, JC, that truly are the best price in the country. And if anyone finds them cheaper, let me know. I go to great effort to make sure that we are offering your people the best price. Susan asked, it sounds like a word salad. I don't mean it to be. Look, I've been buying gold and silver every 2 weeks for 31 years. It's my wealth. I hope I never need to use it. If I do, I'm damn glad I have it. If not, I'll give it to my kids. And it's not just for an emergency, it's for an opportunity as well. Mm-hmm. What you invest with is money that you would speculate upon. If we use the pyramid theory that the Swiss have used for hundreds of years, the base of your pyramid are things that are very non-risky, that are liquid, like precious metals, like paid for real estate, like cash in the bank. And I'm ignoring the inflationary money creation discussion right now where the dollar is losing value. Let's just talk what was considered riskless cash. And let's not forget that gold has just been reclassified as tier 1. That's as good as cash. So cash, gold, paid for real estate. The middle portion of your holdings, 20%, would be things more speculative that are throwing off a return. And the top 10% would be the very speculative things, the cryptocurrencies and the mining shares, your common blue chip stocks in the middle portion. And so I guess the bottom line to me is that if you lose everything on the top 10%, you break even on the middle 20. As long as the base of your pyramid is stable, you don't go backwards. So it's not a word salad. I would never sell my gold to invest in something. Mm-hmm. I would use money to invest in that I want to see grow, and then I would take profit and put it into gold, which I want to retain and want to pass on. And so, anyways, look, I can see why people would think it's a word salad, but it's not. It's to me, the bottom line is gold is wealth and has been for 5,000 years. And when I'm gone, I will take great comfort in knowing my children inherited it and know that it will be worth something in this crazy world where, there are no guarantees any longer that the system that we know will be intact next month, let alone, years down the road. So that's what I'm trying to get at with that.
And whether you believe what Andy is saying is a word salad or not, let me ask you, Susan, what's the alternative? Where do you put your money right now and feel comfortable? Do you put it underneath your mattress at 13%, 20%, 30% inflation? Do you put it in bonds? Do you put it in your bank account at negative interest rate returns?
And JC, I feel guilty. Look, I think you can make, this is what's so unusual about metals right now. It can be a hell of an investment because it will perform. Ultimately, it will. But it can also save you and all of the other investments you have because look, stocks and bonds and real estate are at all-time highs. Stocks and bonds used to be inversely correlated. It used to be risk on stocks, risk off for bonds. And as you get older, you reallocate more into bonds for the risk off. But here's the thing. because interest rates are so low for the first time, they're positively correlated to each other. There is no inverse. And as interest rates rise, they both collapse, as does the housing market.
Yeah.
So where do you put it? And that's really the answer. So I don't want to tell people to buy gold and silver to make money. I think you will, but that's not the ultimate, really the reason to buy it. And I think it cheapens the argument. It cheapens the discussion. It's wealth. And the biggest money in the world is not accumulating it to get wealthy. They're accumulating it to get out of harm's way of a fiat Keynesian-based system that's on its last legs. Look, 1 trillion seconds ago, JC, was 31,688 years ago, and they've printed, what, $9 trillion in the past 15 months?
That they've admitted to, Andy.
That they've admitted to, right. And so it's just getting out of harm's way is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. True and candid speech here from Andy and from myself. I really hope you guys are having a great week and you're not going to be too stressed out with apparently what could be hitting us next week. If you are in the market, of course, to get your insurance policy up to date, please do consider checking that out here at beyondmystic.net/silver is the contact form to get these special prices here for the Beyond Mystic audience. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Andy, for being here again today, spending your time answering all of these questions. Really love these conversations. And again, thank you, Andy, for all of that beautiful silver you guys sent me the other day. That was absolutely amazing. So folks,
JC, I'm so honored to be here with you, buddy. I am. I think you're one of the best in the business, and it's a true honor to be associated with a man of your character. That's why Chris and I sent you the silver. We want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, and I love working with your people, and I look forward to being here every week and just chatting a little bit, and you know, my best to you, JC. You're an awesome guy.
All right. Thank you so much. And I feel the same way about you, Andy. So all in all, we've got the reciprocity going. So thank you, everyone. So there you go, folks. Please join us tonight as we continue our series here of the where is it? The Quantum Woo with Mariam Heneen. Tonight we have a special guest on, Ryan Riff Parks, and we're talking about how to deal with PTSD through movement and reprogramming your neuro-linguistic map. Absolutely going to be a fascinating episode. And don't forget, on Saturday, I have Cliff High coming up. We are going to be looking into everything here, gold, silver, crypto, in the context of what's happening perhaps next week in our markets. And also on Saturday, yes, I believe it's on Saturday, I will be recording with Janine the Beyond Crypto Woo episode number 3. Now, we have been tracking very closely in the last couple of weeks here, gold, silver, and also a bunch of cryptos. And so we're going to put all of that into this report here for this weekend. So again, just check the website here for updates here in the next couple of days, and that will become available to you very, very shortly. So
one last thing, JC, one last thing. Don't mean to interrupt you. Just tell Cliff he's one of my all-time favorites, and I'd love to come on with the two of you someday. So if there's ever room for a third, let me know. I'd love to take part in that conversation. I find there's no one online who is more fascinating to listen to than Cliff High.
Awesome. And I believe he feels the same way about you. So we'll try to make that happen at some point.
Thank you.
Folks, please do remember to like, share, and subscribe here at our third backup channel, continuing again to rebuild our community at 18,000 strong. We're getting there. So please hit that subscribe button and like this video. That helps me out a great deal. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.
Au revoir.